Thank you, Wanda. Our next speaker is doing Project 2, Evaluation and Feedback. Tony is an advanced communicator working on his Pathways Leadership module, and the research he did is, what good is YouTube? Please welcome Tony.
YouTube's been around for a little while. I think it started out as what you would consider a social media product, and it probably is still considered that, but it's evolved into a lot more. I think in the beginning, it was just a way to share videos. We had ways of sharing pictures, we had ways of sharing ideas and thoughts, but we didn't have a good way to share videos in the early stages of Facebook and MySpace. Does anybody remember MySpace? A few of you, barely. What I'm going to talk to you tonight is not really what YouTube is, but how I benefit from YouTube as a consumer. Because there are people out there making money on YouTube. They have YouTube channels, they're putting out interesting information, and as they get viewers, they can get money from sponsors that advertise on YouTube. But I'm a consumer of YouTube, and I'll tell you why I like YouTube, some of the reasons. The first time I saved money on YouTube was probably 15 years ago. I bought this old boat. It was in pretty good shape, had a 225 horsepower Yamaha. It's a big motor. We were able to start it out in this field to see if it ran, and that's all I knew about it. I knew it was the kind of boat I wanted, and I knew it ran. So I take it out with my buddy on the water the first time. We get going, man, this thing's great. It's cruising along until I got to about half throttle, and then all of a sudden it goes, vroom, and it just kind of died. Start it back up, give it some gas, get up to about half throttle, dies again. So my theory was it wasn't getting enough fuel once I pushed the throttle past a certain point. Now I could take this to a boat mechanic, and if it's an honest one, he's going to charge me exactly what's wrong with it. If he's dishonest, which I was concerned about, who knows how much money it could be. So I got on YouTube when I got home and I started researching this problem. Turns out it's a very common problem with this motor. What I found out was it's supposed to have two fuel filters. One is an external fuel filter, which it didn't have. Another is a teeny tiny filter inside the engine, and it's prone to get clogged. A guy had actually posted pictures of the whole process of taking the motor apart, finding that little filter, cleaning it or replacing it, and putting it back. I did that in one afternoon. I turned it off all his pictures, took them outside with my tools and started taking that motor apart, and I replaced it with some carburetor cleaner, took it out the next time, and it ran perfectly. How much money did I save? I have no idea, but I know it was over $100. It's probably several $100. I also put in the external fuel filter later so it wouldn't happen again every time I had some dirt in my fuel. The second time as well, the most recent time I've saved money on it is I have an old 4Runner I bought a few months ago. And it had been fine up until now. And I was out there driving one day, and all of a sudden it just started cutting out. Again, same kind of thing. Wasn't getting enough fuel, I think. But I didn't know what it was. So I got on YouTube later, after it happened 3 or 4 times. I could put the accelerator all the way to the floor. I could get up to maybe 50. That's not fun on the highway when you're slowly accelerating and you might get to 50. So I got on YouTube and I found out another common problem. It has a what's called a throttle position center in the throttle body that keeps track of how much fuel that you're supposed to give it based on how much air is coming into the engine. And that throttle position sensor was prone to failure. Well, I saw some YouTube videos where you're supposed to replace the throttle sensor itself. I tried that. They sent me the wrong one. I thought, well, they made a mistake. Nope, I took it to the auto parts store. They said, no, that's supposed to be the right one, but it doesn't look like what you took out. Turns out I found out through more research that you're not supposed to be able to replace the sensor. You're supposed to replace the entire throttle body. Guess how much those are? $1,000. Now, I will introduce briefly another site that I like called eBay. And so, after I found out the cheapest one I could buy new from anywhere was $600, I got on eBay and I found one that probably came off a wrecked 4Runner that was in good shape. I bought it for $200. I watched the YouTube video, how to take it apart, how to install it, and it was like a 30-minute job. It was actually very easy, and it's been running fine ever since. So those are two really good examples. I'll briefly share with you a few others here. I bought a car not too long ago that had some problems with the front bumper. I don't know much about spray painting and body work, but I learned a lot. I watched probably 15 or 20 videos, and I ended up, if you want to look at it later, it's sitting out there. I repainted my bumper, and I'm very proud of that. It looks great. And I saved myself probably $1,000 on that job. The other thing that was wrong with that car when I bought it was the side mirror was broken. It was actually taped to the side of the car. Now, I had no idea what was wrong with it, so I YouTubed it. How do you take a mirror apart? Did you know that you can actually pull the mirror part of it off without breaking the whole thing? I didn't know. I saw a guy do it. Oh, okay, I guess that's how you do it. If I'd tried to do that, I thought I'd break it. But once you see somebody do it, it pops off. It's like, okay, that's easy. I disassembled the whole thing. Turns out the metal bracket was broken. I got some JB weld that cost me about $10 at Home Depot. Clamped it together one night, put it back together the next day, and you can't tell anything's wrong with it. So there are a lot of examples I can share with you. There's a few others that aren't exactly saving me money, but I gave a speech a few weeks ago about a bucket list. And I had this Jeep, and I was going to figure out where I'm going to take this Jeep before I sell it. And I YouTubed, where do you go Jeeping? And I chose a place called Telluride, Colorado, where you can go up in the mountains on these old trails, mining trails, and you can take four-wheelers up there and have a good time and enjoy the outdoors. That's another thing I've done with YouTube. The other thing I'm doing right now is I'm recording this speech on my phone, and almost all of my speeches I've stored on my own YouTube channel. So if I want to go back, or if you guys want to listen to them, you can go to the channel. Tony Probst is my YouTube. But anyhow, I store them on there so that if I want to go back in time and listen to some speeches, you know, how did I sound then versus now? How have I improved? What did I need to work on? I can go back and listen to myself by storing it on my YouTube channel. If I just kept it on my phone, it uses up a lot of memory space, but I can put it on YouTube for free and keep it up there. There's another thing that I like about YouTube is when you find videos that you find helpful, you can store them on your YouTube channel, save them as favorites, or you can create categories. Like I have a category about, I think it's called detailing. So anything that has to do with cleaning up a car or a vehicle, I put it in that category. That way if I want to go back and watch it again and kind of refresh my memory of why I thought that was such a good video, I can go back and do that. And it's better than having to search over again and kind of sift through all the videos and see which ones that you liked the first time. So my whole point of this is, I know it's a social media thing. I know it's entertaining. They're also selling content and channels and things like that on YouTube. But I think the biggest benefit is you can save money if you're willing to do some things yourself.